Welcome to Do the Math America. I am Charlene, Math Shaman. This is Lesson 8, Adding Integers. The material comes from A+ Notes for Beginning Algebra. Please use the link in the description box below this video for the PDF file to make a hard copy of this book for yourself. This book is out of print and not available for purchase otherwise. I will be using it for the next 40 lessons. The material of this lesson is found on pages 13 and 14 of the textbook. When you are adding integers, the numbers to be added are called the addends. The answer is called the sum. Commutative and associative hold for addition. What this means is when you are adding two numbers, like 8 plus 4, it doesn't matter if you add them as 8 plus 4 or 4 plus 8. They both equal the same number, 12. What associative property means is if you are adding multiple positive numbers, it does not matter what order in which you add them. Always solve within the parenthesis first. The left-hand side of the equation, we first solve 8 plus 4 and then add 2. On the right-hand side, we first solve 4 plus 2 and then we add 8. In both cases, we end up with the same answer, 14. So whether you add the first two numbers first or the last two numbers first and then do the complete addition, you will get the same answer. No sign on a number means it is positive. So 1 equals positive 1, 2 equals positive 2. If A and B are both positive, then the sum is positive. A and B are variables in which we substitute for numbers. In this case, 2 and 3 are both positive and their sum is 5, also positive. If A and B are both negative, then their sum is negative. So for example, -2 plus -3 equals -5. Absolute value. The positive of any number A is denoted by the absolute value of A. So the absolute value of 3 equals 3. The absolute value of -3 equals 3. The absolute value of -2 equals 2. And the negative of the absolute value of -3 is -3. Because first, you solve within the absolute value sign. The absolute value of -3 is +3, and then you add the negative sign to make it -3. If A is positive and B is negative, and the absolute value of A is greater than the absolute value of B, then A plus B is positive. For example, 3 plus -2 equals 1. Since the number with the larger absolute value, in this case 3, is greater than -2, which has the absolute value of 2, the sum is positive. 3 triangle dots means therefore, so therefore positive. If A is positive and B is negative, and the absolute value of A is less than the absolute value of B, then A plus B is negative. For example, 2 plus -3 equals -1. Since -3 has the larger absolute value, the sum is negative, therefore negative. The property of opposites. A plus -A equals 0. For example, 3 plus -3 equals 0. The property of additive identity. A plus 0 equals A. For example, 3 plus 0 equals 3. So let's now look at some examples. Negative 5 plus 3 equals negative 2. First, we recognize that this is an addition problem, and we see that the signs are not the same. So that means we treat it as a subtraction problem, and the bigger number gives the sign. This math concept seems confusing at first, but the more problems you do, the easier it will get. Next example, negative 3 plus 5. Once again, we recognize that this is an addition problem, and we see that the signs are not the same. They're different. Therefore, we treat this as a subtraction problem with the larger number giving the sign. In this case, 5 has a greater absolute value than negative 3, so the answer will be positive. So we look at 5 minus 3, which equals 2, and the answer will be positive 2. That is, negative 3 plus 5 equals positive 2, or just plain 2. Negative 3 plus negative 5 is an addition problem. And since the signs are the same, we treat this as an addition problem, keeping the sign. So think of this as 3 plus 5 equals 8, and the answer will be negative 8. Now we have 8 plus 4 equals 12, and 4 plus 8 also equals 12, which shows us the commutative property of addition. Negative 8 plus negative 4 is an addition problem. We draw a parenthesis around negative 4 to make it clear what the sign is. Both signs are negative, therefore you add the numbers and keep the sign. The sum of negative 8 plus negative 4 is negative 12. Next, we look at 8 plus negative 4. In this case, the signs are different. And when the signs are different, we subtract the numbers and we use the sign of the larger number, or the number with the larger absolute value gives the sign. So with 8 plus negative 4, we subtract 8 minus 4 equals 4. And the larger number is 8, and it's a positive number, so it will be positive 4. With 4 plus negative 8, again, the signs are different. We take the subtraction, 8 minus 4, which is 4, and then we use the sign of the larger number, which is negative 8, so it will be a negative 4. The next problem we look at is 8 plus negative 8, which equals 0. It uses the property of opposites, that any number plus its opposite equals 0. So negative 8 plus 8 also equals 0. Next, we see that 8 plus 0 equals 8. 0 plus 8 equals 8, and 0 plus negative 8 equals negative 8. These show the property of additive identity, that is, any number plus 0 equals itself. Now we take a closer look at absolute value. The absolute value of 18 is 18. The absolute value of negative 18 is also 18. The negative of the absolute value of negative 18 is negative 18. The absolute value of 15 plus negative 24, take that absolute value, plus 6. First, we simplify what is inside the absolute value sign. 15 plus negative 24. Here is the decision tree for adding positive and negative integers, just as a reminder. So when the signs are different, you subtract the numbers and take the sign of the larger number. So first we work out that 24 minus 15 equals 9. And since the larger number, 24, is negative, the sign will be negative, or negative 9. Now we bring down the rest of the problem, which are the absolute value brackets, which gives us the absolute value of -9 plus 6. I rewrite that on the next line. Now I simplify. The absolute value of -9 is 9 plus 6. I rewrite that on the next line. It helps to rewrite your equations on the next line as you simplify. 9 plus 6 is 15. I box my answer. Evaluate each expression if a equals 2, b equals -3, and c equals -4. So for the equation a plus b, we just plug and chug. We will substitute 2 for a and -3 for b, which gives us 2 plus -3. Now I will repost the decision tree on how to add positive and negative integers on the side for a reminder. 2 plus -3, the signs are different, so we treat this as a subtraction problem. Larger number gives the sign. In this case, the larger number is -3, and it is a negative number, so the solution will be negative. So we take the subtraction, 3 minus 2, which equals 1, and the solution is -1. Always remember to write the negative sign if the answer is negative, and box your answer. Next problem, a plus the absolute value of b plus the negative of the absolute value of c. We start by plugging and chugging the numbers for the values. So for a, we use 2. For b, we use -3. And for c, we use -4. That gives us a plus the absolute value of -3 plus the negative of the absolute value of -4. So we start by simplifying the absolute values, which gives us 2 plus the absolute value of -3 is +3, plus the negative of the absolute value of -4 is -4, and I draw a parenthesis around -4. 2 plus 3 simplifies to 5, plus -4, I rewrite that on the next line. 5 plus -4 have different signs. I treat that as a subtraction problem. 5 is the larger number. It is positive, so the solution is 5 minus 4, which equals 1. It's +1. I box my answer. John weighed 126 pounds. He gains 25 pounds this month. How much does John weigh this month? So I write down the facts of the problem. John is at 126 pounds, and he gains 25 pounds, which means he adds 25 pounds. So this is an addition problem, 126 plus 25. Since both numbers are positive, I will simply add them and keep the positive sign. 126 plus 25 equals 151. We write out our answer. John weighs 151 pounds this month, and we box our answer. Jorge lost 10 pounds in January, lost 9 pounds in February, and lost 4 pounds in March. What was his total weight loss for these 3 months? I write down the facts of the problem. In January, there's minus 10 pounds, February, minus 9 pounds, and March, minus 4 pounds. And I add up these losses. Minus 10 plus minus 9 plus minus 4 will equal his total weight loss for those 3 months. So I will do the addition from left to right. First, I simplify -10 plus -9. In this case, both numbers are negative, -10 plus -9. I add the numbers 10 plus 9, which equals 19. I keep the negative sign. So now I have -19 plus -4. I bring down the rest of the problem. Negative 19 plus negative 4 also both have the same sign, so I add those together. 19 plus 4 equals 23, and I keep the negative sign. The solution is negative 23 pounds. I box my answer. And I write out my answer. Jorge lost 23 pounds. And I box my answer. Adding positive and negative integers may seem confusing at first, so it helps to do a lot of practice problems. The exercises for this lesson are found on page 14. The first set of problems are the warm-up exercises, and then the later problems are more challenging. Please do as many problems as you need in order to get a firm grasp of this material, and please check your answers with those solutions on page 289 to make sure you did the problems correctly. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for joining me at Do the Math America.